Ever wanted to get that podcast off the ground? Ever got stuck wondering how to get it done? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First off, it's completely free. You heard that right. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and much, much more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So as soon as you start recording, get your ads in place, you start making that money. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
It was all the dread love, it's the Brooklyn way.
No man in the sky intervenes.
You can't handle the truth.
An abomination.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Where did that bring you?
Introduce a little anarchy.
This is the Kayatic Dreams Podcast.
Upset the established order and everything becomes...
This is the Kayatic Dreams Podcast. This is the Kayatic Dreams Podcast, and this is your host, AJ. And today we're going to be talking about Birds of Prey. Or is it Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn? Or is it now Harley Quinn, ... Birds of Prey? Either way, it's the same damn movie. Nothing was wrong with the title that warranted a change. The studio is in a state of shock because they projected this film to make over $45 million, and it only pulled in domestically $33.2 million. A far cry from what they expected, and it was produced on an $84 million budget, so they're kind of scrambling. And one of their ideas was, well, the title was too long, and that's probably the reason why it wasn't viewed. No, nobody gives a shit about the title. We all know it's Harley Quinn's movie, and we also know the Birds of Prey are involved. That's all we needed. The fact that you guys are changing the title because you think that somehow magically is going to make you increase your cash flow makes zero sense to me. People don't care about how to pronounce this title. They care about if the movie's actually good. So with that being said, this is my review of Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, aka Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. So spoiler warning right now, if you are listening and you don't take my warning, too bad for you. Spoilers on deck. Let's get right into it. So where did we leave off? So Harley Quinn debuted obviously in Suicide Squad, where she was a part of the main team after being captured by Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman from Batman vs. Superman, and of course the Justice League. She gets caught by the Bat. Joker obviously leaves her flat, so she ends up in jail and he ends up out free. Uh, Throughout the movie, she ends up getting caught in this web Amanda Waller created and forced into the Suicide Squad Task Force X situation to save the day as a villain, or if not, risk getting blown up. So that movie, I enjoyed it personally. A lot of aspects could have been better, but it wasn't completely unwatchable. It wasn't a bad film per se. Where we leave off with this movie, pretty much Harley Quinn and the rest of Suicide Squad, they obviously save the day. They all end up getting lighter sentences, but they are all still locked up. Harley Quinn in this case was the only one to actually escape with the help of the Joker at the end of the film. And that's pretty much where we left it off. Everyone else involved in Suicide Squad weren't important factors for this movie. We had a cool little nod to Captain Boomerang, where Harley Quinn sees a wanted poster and she says, "Oh, hey, I know that guy." Cool little nod, but overall, you really don't need to see Suicide Squad so much to get into this Birds of Prey movie, this Harley Quinn movie. Um, it's good to watch just to know the dynamic of the Joker Harley Quinn relationship if you're new to Joker or Harley Quinn's relationship and DC heroes and villains as a whole. So the movie starts off with Harley Quinn getting broken up, kicked out the house by Joker. Joker obviously isn't in this movie as Jared Leto has been moved out of the Joker role, with Joaquin Phoenix actually helming the taking the role of Joker in the movie that just came out a few months ago, Joker, which grossed $1 billion. So congratulations to Joaquin Phoenix, who also won an Oscar behind it, and the success of the movie, making over $1 billion. But nonetheless, Jared Leto is out. He has nothing to do with this film outside of a few references throughout the movie, and you know, just building up to know where Harley Quinn is at this point in her life. So stemming off of the breakup with Joker, Harley Quinn is on her own in Gotham City, and she's still, living her normal everyday life of a crazy psychotic mad woman who likes to wreak havoc across Gotham City. And she does it under the protection of being Joker's girlfriend. So she ends up having a crazy night out, drinking, partying, ends up getting this wild, crazy idea that maybe she should blow up Ace Chemicals, the plant where her relationship with Joker took off, where the Joker was originally created, and where she helped create Harley Quinn by jumping in the vat of chemicals. um, you can see that whole thing play out in Suicide Squad, but she decides in this movie to blow up Ace Chemicals, which is a big fixture in DC Comics history, comic book wise, animation, everything. Ace Chemicals is very known in the comics and mentioned a lot throughout history outside of Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey or Joker for that matter. Um, so this kind of sets the rest of the movie in motion. The blowing up of Ace Chemicals was pretty much the catalyst for the rest of the city knowing that her and Joker were on the outs. This was her big declaration: I'm on my own. Forget about Joker. It's really done this time. And she has to deal with the ramifications of being Joker's girl. She's hated all over Gotham City. Obviously, people put up with her because of their fear of Joker, the clown prince of crime. And that's pretty much where the movie starts off. Um, Now, a lot of people critique this movie without actually giving it a try. They a lot of people I see on these forums and these boards. I even had a conversation with a gentleman the other day who runs a comic book Facebook group, and usually I like his opinion on stuff, but he shunned the movie just off the strength. He thought it was a social justice warrior thing, and it was gonna be uh pretty much just a film based on feminism, and we'll speak a little bit about feminism pertaining to this movie and uh, a lot of the issues surrounding that. But he basically, off of the strength of the past movies in the DCEU, there's a large fan base that didn't like the direction of any of these movies, but he pretty much gave it no chance, and I'm starting to see that a lot of people have that same idea. They think that just because the old movies maybe didn't perform or weren't to their liking, that this wasn't to their liking. Everybody has preconceived notions. Some people complaining, hey, Harley Quinn is a Gotham City siren. She has nothing to do with the Birds of Prey. How is she leading this team? Well, asshole, if you go and actually watch the movie, you realize she's not leading anything. Harley Quinn is Harley Quinn. She's only worried about herself and getting herself out the situation. And the Birds of Prey just kind of get looped into the situation. They all have a mutual enemy. They all have a mutual situation that forces them to link together. In no way, shape, or form is Harley Quinn the leader of the Birds of Prey. If anything, this movie succeeded in bringing the Birds of Prey together, giving the the respective backstories on the Birds of Prey characters, and then not only building on that for the future, but building Harley Quinn's story out of the Suicide Squad, fleshing it out, and giving her a purpose in the future to go with. When I left this movie, I was like, I want a Harley Quinn solo film, and I also want a Birds of Prey spinoff. So for the people that are complaining, this isn't Birds of Prey, this isn't the actual team. Why is Harley the leader? Go watch the damn movie. You know, that is the biggest problem with a lot of people nowadays. They have preconceived notions on things. They don't know how to leave opinions and leave expectations at the door. Just go out and enjoy the damn movie. A lot of people have a problem with doing that. And I, for one, used to be the type of person that if I was interested in a film, I would look at all the trailers, I would look at all the leaked info, and try to formulate conspiracy theories on where the movie's going, what we might see. And I realized that that mindset kind of ruins films because then you go in there with an expectation, and if that expectation isn't met, people seem to automatically deem the film unworthy or unsatisfying. And I learned to put my own expectations and my own opinions aside. Don't go in there with half of the movie, spoiled for me. I'm gonna go in there clean slate. Let me see if I enjoy this movie. Now, I went with one of my homeboys and two of my other homegirls. It was four of us. Uh, we all enjoyed it. We were laughing from beginning to end. The action was amazing for the most part, and it made sense. A lot of people complain, "Oh my God, Harley's not a hero. She doesn't fight for justice." Well, Harley's been an anti-hero since 2010, 2011, when the New 52 came out and they reimagined Harley Quinn. It is 2020. That means there's at least 9 to 10 years worth of this kind of growth and direction for Harley Quinn. Remember, Harley Quinn is a character that was created in the Batman animated series. We're talking about the 90s. This character is still young in comparison to all her other counterparts in the DC universe. So for people to go with any preconceived notions, even if this was a departure from what you saw in comics, even if that was the case, Harley Quinn is still young enough that we can see her pulled in different directions, and it wouldn't be too jarring to accept the new status quo for Harley Quinn. With that being said, this was the most Harley Quinn like Harley Quinn movie ever. Like, Margot Robbie knocked this shit out the park when it comes to the mannerisms, the facial expressions, the laughter, the mischief in her face. I enjoyed half of the dastardly things she's done just based off her body language, her expression while doing it. She seemed to be reveling in the chaos, and that's what made me enjoy it. That's who Harley Quinn is. People can complain and nitpick, but if you're not giving this movie a chance and watching it, please don't give your opinions on something you have obviously no idea about. Um, like I said, I would defend movies when they earn the right to be defended, and I will pan a movie when they earn the right to pan a movie. But I will not pan a movie just off of preconceived notions. That's bullshit, and I think that's a lot of what's going on here with Harley Quinn. Now, as far as the box office, people are harping on the fact that it's disappointment, and there was even an article out that said, and this loops right back to my feminist point earlier. Feminists claim the movie is not doing good because men don't want to go out to the movie to see it because they think it might be, a feminist movement thing. That's bullshit. Let's just put it there. Is this a movie about women and them being empowered to take action? Of course it is. Are they force feeding you feminist movement ideals and shoving in your face every 5 minutes, hey, women power, women power? No, they're not doing that. This movie was good on various levels, and I want to first say the box office for the first weekend has nothing to do with men trying to hinder the performance because it's a woman-led movie. That that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Instead of making articles about feminist movements and the fact that they feel men are hindering the performance, why don't you open your fucking eyes and realize there's a huge virus going on in China that closed out the market completely. So domestically, there might be another reason for its lack of explosive numbers. But overseas, there's a lot of factors overseas going on right now. The coronavirus impacted the China market, and the China market is a huge, huge factor in movies grossing $1 billion or crossing and breaking records. So before we even get into these feminist conspiracy theories, why don't you guys consider real world factors? Now, domestically, my reasoning is because you released the movie a week before Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day this year is on Friday. I'm pretty sure like 90% of the people who had intentions of seeing the movie was like, why go opening night when it probably be crowded when I could take my girlfriend or significant other to the movie on Valentine's Day and do dinner in a movie? Nobody thought about that. Not one person, not one feminist. Or do you not believe in Valentine's Day either? That's neither here nor there, but there's various factors, and I feel like feminism or anti-feminism is not one of them. Curb that shit. First of all, curve it because 90% of the people that enjoy the women characters are men. I'm pretty sure the creator of Harley Quinn was a man. Um, I'm pretty sure before comic books and comic book characters were very mainstream, it was the male population keeping these people afloat. So save that jazz. I really don't want to hear it. So as far as the movie goes, the villain, Black Mask. Now, I've never really seen Black Mask in too many things as far as media goes, animation, anything like that. I know of him through the comics, but I will say I thoroughly enjoyed Ewan McGregor's take on Black Mask. It was eccentric, it was quirky, but when he flipped the switch to be a psycho and to really show the audience that he's a danger in Gotham and he's somebody to be reckoned with, he definitely flipped that switch and it definitely was believable. I liked his take because I didn't expect this eccentric character, this quirky character that Ewan McGregor uh portrayed. I feel like he was having legitimate fun. And you know, to partner him up with Zace was the perfect combination because Zace, every anybody who knows who Victor Zace is, he's a serial killer. Every time he takes a victim's life, he cuts himself open and pretty much counts everyone he's killed with scars to match on his body. So where Black Mask had his eccentric qualities about him, Victor Zace the entire film was straight up psycho. You could tell he was a madman. He was crazy. They were peeling people's faces off. That's another thing. This movie did not lack in showing violence or it was a well-deserved rated R. They didn't go over the top and make it like a Saw movie bloodfest, but they used the R rating for good reasoning in certain spots in the movie. One of those being the torture, kind of the torture scenes where he's trying to weasel his way to the top of Gotham's empire, and the people who don't agree with him, the other gang leaders that don't agree with him, they end up with their face being ripped off. So the primary goal of this movie was the fact that Black Mask had Huntress family killed because the Bernellis were probably one of the wealthiest families in Gotham. They had a diamond made with foreign bank accounts, and all their wealth were tied to this diamond. And the whole crux of the movie is the diamond is out there in the world. It needs to come back to Black Mass so he can have his empire and take over Gotham. Obviously, the birds of prey get in the mix and they try to prevent him from acquiring the diamond. And Cassandra Cain, which I feel like what I knew of Cassandra Cain, this was a departure from what I knew about her. She's the future Batgirl. I didn't really see much of her comic book character resemble the on-screen character, but I didn't mind. Cassandra Cain was played by a young girl. She was probably a teenager in this movie, so it was okay to me. I didn't mind that too much. Everyone else I felt stuck to who they really were in the comics and had a lot of qualities from the comic books, specifically Huntress and her entire backstory, and her, her reasoning for vengeance, and you know, she was one of the highlight characters as well because she's so awkward with her newfound vigilantism that it's hilarious. They had one specific scene where she's in the mirror practicing telling people who she was. It was very hilarious, and you could tell she was still new to the game, well trained assassin, but they go into a lot of backstory. As far as Black Canary goes, the entire film, I'm like, oh man, when is she gonna expose her power? The moment they actually show her power, it was great. It was to good effect, and honestly, she was so badass in this movie. She didn't have to rely on her power to even deal damage or uh, have impact in this film, and that was one of the good things. Not only that, they told us about her background. They alluded to her mother, who was the original Canary, a part of the Justice Society of America, and we might possibly get that reference to the Justice Society of America in the upcoming Black Adam film starring The Rock. So a lot of Easter eggs laid out in this movie. They continue the connection to the DCEU, referencing Suicide Squad, referencing various connections to the universe, and it was overall really great. I loved what's I forgot her name. I think it's Journey Smollett, I believe is her name. She played a great role as Black Canary. I loved her look. I loved her fighting style, which they say was inspired by Mortal Kombat, and her Injustice character in the game and how she fights in that. So they did a great job with that altogether. And once these girls all finally get together and join up, it's even more laughs, even more action. But the real star, of course, was Harley Quinn. And for people saying, you know, Harley Quinn should have mixed with the Birds of Prey. This was perfect because by the end of the movie, you are shown that Harley Quinn is Harley Quinn and that's who she's gonna be. She's not gonna be stuck in this righteous idea. She's still an agent of chaos, but she she moves to her own beat. She doesn't follow the mold, and now that she's finally free and over Joker, she has nothing but the future ahead of her, and she has nothing but great things ahead of her. They played a good role. I loved the movie. I actually went to see it back to back on Friday on debut night and Saturday. I took my mom so she can go see it. Enjoyed it both times, and I actually don't mind going back again to see it. This movie needs the support because a lot of people pan DC automatically because it's not Marvel, and that's a big factor in why DC movies struggle to move on. Obviously Joker made 1 billion because one, it was fabulously acted by Joaquin Phoenix, and everyone for the most part loves the Joker. So it was a no-brainer that people were at least gonna check this movie out. I feel like the Aquaman earned its way to 1 billion because it had everything going for it: story, the visual style, the connective tissue to the DCEU. That was a great movie, but after being critically panned and studio changes of the original DCEU films, Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, that kind of leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. I feel like that would change once people accept the fact that there can be two comic book movie companies that are putting out material, putting out different movies for us to consume. Why do we need everything to be the Marvel blueprint? Like I really cannot wrap that idea around my mind. Why people feel like just because Marvel's succeeding in this way that DC has to follow suit and do exactly what they're doing, basically a copy and paste situation. But then when they do anything similar, you want to panic for that. Oh, Aquaman was just Black Panther underwater. And those are the typical idiot comments we deal with on forums and stuff like that. So Birds of Prey, like I said, it juggled a lot. It juggled the past of where Harley came from, the connective tissue of the DCEU. It set up the future for Harley, set up the future for Birds of Prey. It alluded to the Suicide Squad movie that's coming soon. I feel like this movie, if I was to grade it out of 10, I would definitely give it a solid maybe 8, 8.5 or 8.75. It was definitely worth it. I had a lot more things that I liked about it than didn't like. I really can't even think about much much when I'm thinking along the lines of what I didn't like with this movie. It was engaging from the very beginning, and like I said, laughter from beginning to end. And when the action scenes came out, it was real action, real pure action. Not only that, with Harley Quinn specifically, when she ends up trying to find, uh, excuse me, sorry for that, when she actually tries to find Cassandra Cain because she's in possession of the diamond, she has to run through a police precinct and free her from a cell. And throughout this entire scene, she's fighting like Harley Quinn in the comics, in these animated movies, where she has the weapons that are designed like Joker weapons. She had the exploding glitter, and uh it was just hilarious, and it was just true to character. Margot Robbie did a phenomenal, phenomenal job. And I hope in this second week, we're still in the first week, only a couple days out since its debut. I'm hoping in the second week that it picks up and people actually make their way, the word of mouth goes around, and people start seeing this film, because it'll be a damn shame if this film doesn't succeed, because they actually really did a great job with it. Anyone that I did go to the movies with, they all had the same, you know, feeling. It was a lot of adrenaline, a lot of laughs. We all came out of the movie theater loving it and wanting more. And I feel like people who are skeptical, go out, go see it, enjoy it for yourself. Don't let people twist your opinion or your view, or you know distract you from going out and forming your own opinion. This movie was great, and I look forward to a lot more from DC. I'm one that I loved Batman versus Superman Ultimate Edition. Loved Man of Steel, and I'm one of those that are hoping for a Snyder cut. But even if that possibility won't come, with the Joker movie, the Aquaman movie, this Birds of Prey movie, I have a renewed faith in the movies, and I feel like I've enjoyed them thoroughly, you know, as they've been released. I really don't have any negative things to say about the Harley Quinn movie. I guess the only negative I have is the fact that people decided that they needed to change the name because of the box office reception. We are in a world that the determines everything by your economic value, or how much you can make, instead of actually seeing the creativity and the fact that they captured the essence of what these characters are. Now, Gotham City Sirens is still on the slate to be released. I don't know the release date, but this movie helped us get to that eventual Gotham City Sirens, because how are we gonna have a Sirens movie with the Joker heavily involved? She detached herself from him early in this film, and it didn't feel like we were missing out because the Joker wasn't involved. It was a funny way they handled the Joker, actually, because the movie opened with an animation showing Harley Quinn and her various looks and styles, explaining their relationship, pretty much catching up the audience on what's been going on with them. And they use the animated Joker, and later on in the movie, she has her own apartment. You go, and when they go into the apartment, you see that she has a one wall dedicated to a big target, and in the center of the target is the Joker drawn out. So very hilarious, very true to character. Again, we all know Harley Quinn was in an abusive relationship with the Joker throughout her entire history. They have a very on again, off again situation, and that was true to character. And again, uh, there's very few actors that can carry themselves with the mannerisms, facial expressions, body language, and embody character. I feel like Margot was born to be Harley Quinn. There's not many people I would put in that position, as far as being able to pull off a Harley Quinn, maybe looks wise, but she embodied that role down to the smile, laugh. Like I said earlier, I enjoyed to see her revel in the chaos and so much hilarious moments. She had pretty much everybody who had a grievance with her. There would be a meter who on the side of the screen that would say like who they were, what their grievances were, and in particular with Black Mask, there were so many grievances that they had to like speed through them. It's definitely a moment I want to go back to and revisit when the DVD Blu-ray drops, because there were so many things that he had grievances against her for, and a lot of them were Easter eggs to the past, to the comics, and just generally who Harley Quinn is, and it was grade A. I would probably knock it down from a perfect 10, because of I felt like the character of Cassidy Kane wasn't 100% who I know her to be. Maybe down the line she'll become the bad girl that we all know. Obviously not the Barbara Gordon version. She's a future Batwoman. So that would be like really my only gripe, was that I felt like her character was a brand new take. But even that wasn't even a negative, because I enjoyed her being a pickpocket and having the smart mouth, and her bouncing off of Harley Quinn. It was amazing, and her bouncing off the rest of the cast. Shout out to Rosie Perez, who plays Detective Montoya. She did a good role. I really enjoyed what she brought to the table. It was a hilarious moment where Harley Quinn is trying to eat this egg sandwich. And this is a very hilarious part of the film. She's trying to eat this egg sandwich, and the moment she finally is about to enjoy it, Renee Montoya, Rosie Perez shows up, and then it stops. And it's like, when I was with the Joker, no one dared to come after me or chase me in the streets. And now that I'm not with the Joker, I have this. And then they zoom into Rosie Perez with the angriest, determined face to try to catch her. It ends up into a chase around the city. Hilarious. So shout out to Rosie Perez for her role. Shout out to Margot and the rest of them. Uh, it was great. I look forward to Birds of Prey movie with Black Canary, Huntress, and Detective Montoya. And like I said, I do look forward to another Harley Quinn movie. I don't want to really continue going on because I really don't have nothing negative to say, or nothing but positivity here. Let's see if they rebound in their second week. I'm hoping that's the case. And like I said, guys, if you haven't watched this movie yet, please go out, form your own opinion, go see this movie. If possible, let me know what you thought about it. Give me any ideas of what other movies you want me to review, or any other topics you want me to discuss. And like I said, enjoy this film. I'll give it an 8.75 out of 10 possible points. So definitely go check it out. Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, or originally, like I still like that title, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Please go check it out. Let me know what you thought. This has been the Kayatic Dreams Podcast. This has been your host, AJ. Please like, subscribe, and share my podcast. Also, please, if you will, go check out my Brothers in Arms at Kayfabe Avenue. 1/3 of that podcast. Please show us some love. We deal with everything pertaining to wrestling on that podcast. And of course, there'll be more episodes. I'll have more topics. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the future. And like I said, this is AJ signing off.